Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into what I think is literally one of the most fascinating corners of music history. Look, we all know John Lennon and Paul McCartney, right? The absolute driving creative force behind the Beatles. But what about the massive smash hit songs they wrote, completely produced, and then just deliberately chose not to release themselves? Today, we're going to explore their hidden hit factory. We're uncovering the tracks they basically gave away to other artists, and how those discarded songs went on to fundamentally shift pop music and absolutely dominate the global charts.
To kind of set the stage here, what do the Rolling Stones, Badfinger, and Peter and Gordon all have in common? Well, you might be surprised to learn that these legendary artists all scored massive, career-defining hits using songs secretly, or, sometimes not so secretly, penned by Lennon and McCartney. As you'll see, giving away their music wasn't an accident. It was a highly calculated move that boosted the commercial success of the entire British invasion and completely reshaped how the industry manufactured pop stars.
Take this song, A World Without Love. Paul McCartney actually wrote this when he was just 16 years old. He didn't think it was good enough for the Beatles, and, well, John totally agreed. When Paul played the opening lyric, "Please Lock Me Away," John would literally jokingly reply, "Yes, okay, end of song." So they doomed it for the Beatles. But here's the crazy part. Paul gave it to a duo called Peter and Gordon, and in 1964, it became a #1 hit in both the UK and the US. A song deemed a total joke by Lennon became a global smash.
Section 1. The Hit Factory Strategy. So, in their earliest days, way before Beatlemania even took over the world, Lennon and McCartney formulated this really deliberate business strategy. They didn't just want to be in a successful band, they actively wanted to emulate legendary songwriting duos like Jerry Goffin and Carole King, or Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller. They essentially wanted to prove they could craft hits for other artists entirely outside of their own group. Giving songs away wasn't a fluke. It was a fundamental part of the songwriting craft they were absolutely determined to master.
And wow, their emulation strategy was a complete triumph. To put this into perspective, in the calendar year of 1964 alone, Lennon and McCartney were credited with an all-time record of 7 U.S. #1 hits. 7! Now sure, some of those were Beatles tracks, but others were songs they handed over to entirely different acts. They basically monopolized the pop charts, proving the strategy was a massive success, and totally changing the blueprint for what a rock band could achieve behind the scenes.
Section 2. Epstein's Merseybeat Master Plan.
Now, this unprecedented songwriting dominance wasn't just left up to chance, not at all. It was brilliantly managed and distributed by the Beatles' manager, Brian Epstein. See, Epstein managed several other acts out of Liverpool, and he utilized this amazing in-house writing advantage to supply unreleased tracks to them. By giving Billy J. Kramer Bad to Me or Peter and Gordon A World Without Love, Epstein practically guaranteed these artists immediate media attention. I mean, think about it. An endorsement from a Beatle coupled with an original Lennon-McCartney song, that was a golden ticket that skyrocketed these secondary acts right up the charts.
In fact, Billy J. Kramer's success with Bad to Me in '63 and '64 was totally groundbreaking. It actually became the very first Lennon-McCartney composition to hit the US Top 40 for an artist other than the Beatles, eventually selling over 1 million units. This proved without a doubt that Epstein's strategy to sustain the whole Merseybeat momentum internationally was working flawlessly. The Beatles' rising tide was literally lifting all of Epstein's ships.
Section 3. Demos versus Final Hits.
Okay, let's explore how the original songwriter demos contrasted wildly with the final, commercially released arrangements. A great example is the song Come and Get It. Paul McCartney arrived early to an Abbey Road session in 1969 and laid down this raw, solo demo in under an hour. That demo basically just sat there, unreleased, charting nowhere. But when the band Badfinger got their hands on it, they completely transformed it. By bringing in a faster tempo and their signature lustrous 3-part harmonies, those arrangement differences turned a quick, uncharted solo sketch into a massive international top 10 pop breakthrough.
It's a really similar story with I Wanna Be Your Man. John and Paul literally ran into the Rolling Stones on the street, heard they needed a single, and finished a draft of this song right in the corner of the studio. But the Stones didn't just play it exactly as written. Bassist Bill Wyman noted that the Stones completely turned the song around. They dirtied it up to make it tougher, adding this awesome Elmore James-style blues feel with Brian Jones's slide guitar. That arrangement took it from a standard pop tune to a really gritty Stones classic.
And they didn't just toss these songs over the fence either. They actively tailored them. For example, the song Step Inside Love was written for Cilla Black. McCartney's original demo is in the key of D, but for the final commercial release, it was transposed up a fourth to the key of G. Why? Well, specifically to take advantage of Scylla's higher vocal register. They literally crafted the musical arrangements to perfectly match the specific strengths of the endorsing artists, optimizing them for maximum radio success.
Section 4. Soundtracks and Screen Time.
As their influence kept growing, Lennon and McCartney began specifically tailoring outside compositions for multimedia projects like film and television. Just look at the timeline of Come and Get It through the lens of Hollywood. After recording his quick demo, McCartney didn't just hand the track over. He used his immense industry clout, offering Badfinger a massive carrot. He told them he would produce the song and get it featured in the major Peter Sellers film, The Magic Christian, but only on the exact condition that they recorded it perfectly following his vision. And it worked. It hit the top 10 globally and served as the movie's opening theme.
They extended this multimedia dominance even further. Paul wrote Step Inside Love right at the BBC Theatre, specifically to serve as the theme song for Cilla Black's new television series. He also wrote Goodbye specifically for Mary Hopkin. He fully produced the track himself and added a jaunty horn arrangement just to ensure her continued chart presence. They were essentially scoring the 1960s pop culture landscape from behind the scenes, really showing the world how closely interconnected music and visual media were becoming.
Section 5. The 1979 Legacy Compilation.
Now, decades later, the sheer volume of these giveaway hits was finally recognized and collected in one monumental album. Released in 1979, the compilation album The Songs Lennon and McCartney Gave Away served as the ultimate archive of this whole strategy. It gathered the original artist recordings, spanning everything from the earliest Merseybeat hits in 1963 to a song John Lennon wrote specifically for Ringo Starr in 1973 called I'm the Greatest, which, by the way, was a highly sarcastic nod to Lennon's past, packed with inside Beatles references.
This compilation preserved a totally hidden history. These were tracks deemed unsuitable for the Beatles' own albums. Maybe they were too pop, too soft, or just didn't fit their evolving sound. Yet they were undeniably crafted for absolute commercial greatness. This album permanently cemented their legacy, not just as a band, but as a calculated, unstoppable hit-making machine for the entire music industry.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. If these massive, chart-topping classics, songs specifically arranged to launch other artists to international stardom, were simply their surplus material, what does that say about the sheer volume of their creative genius? It leaves us with a pretty profound realization about the unmatched depths of Lennon and McCartney's songwriting abilities. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it changes how you listen to the radio.